Algebraliens. They've been around for a long time, haven't they? If you want to be technical, they've been around since the beginning, as X finds out his value is a really, really old video. It's almost 20 years old now. But that doesn't really count, does it? Because they weren't Algebraliens back then. They were just anthropomorphic numbers used for some school project. It wasn't until BFB when Algebrains became an actual thing, but still, that was 8 years ago. Almost 9 years ago. I think it'll be 9 years in April, I think. So yeah, they've been around for a long time, and yeah, I still see people, mostly on Twitter, say that Algebraliens are bad and that they've ruined BFDI, and I want to know why people might think that. But first, let me get into more appropriate attire. Okay, well, so, Algebraliens, we were introduced to 4 and X in BFB 1, and I've got to say, I was a massive fan of BFB. I was in the fandom at the time when BFB came out. I'd only been in the fandom for about 2 years. Maybe not even 2 years, probably even 1. But I was ecstatic. I was so happy that we were getting a new season again of BFDI, and we were introduced to 4 and X, and I was absolutely in love with these guys when I saw them. I thought they were crazy and funny and terrifying. The way they were drawn and animated, mostly 4, it was weird and it was different because we were used to the more clean style of BFDI, but even then, even the characters were in this hand-drawn style that was new. But yeah, 4 and X. 4 was sadistic, he was kind of evil, he would just kill people, he would transform into shapes, and zap them and screech them, and none of the contestants seemed to like him. I'm sure someone did, probably Leafy. And obviously, to eliminate you, it looked like he was just like destroying you, you were getting sucked up into his body, and at the time, obviously, we didn't know about the exit. So yeah, 4 was kind of a villainous character when we were introduced to him, but that made everybody love him. Everyone thought he was such a funny character, and he does have so many funny moments in early BFB. Even now, he can be funny. But we're not talking about right now. We're talking about BFB, and we're introduced to X. X was kind of like the yin to 4's yang, or the yang to 4's yin. I don't remember which one is the good one, because Nam and Sandy ruined yin and yang by putting them the wrong way as well. But yeah, X, he was the not mean version, basically. He was the perfect other part of a duo where X was really caring and loving, and we'd see this more in like BFB 9 and 10. I forgot if it was 9 when he came back. But yeah, when he had the host, and he was just really nice about it. Beep! Are you seated? He was a loving guy, and people loved 4 and X. That's why they're one of the most popular ships of all time in the Object Show fandom. And then we were introduced to a new Algebralian in BFB 16. 2. Now let me tell you, people did not like 2 when their ass landed on the planet. They were British, which was already a bad sign, but also they were here to split the show, which was still the most controversial move that has ever happened in BFDI. I was against it, personally. I did not like the fact that we were going to have to get 2 shows now, where the characters I liked interacting couldn't interact anymore, especially Book and Taco. Removing those 2 from their relevant plot just seemed like a horrible idea. And it was, because we were left with Post-Split, which, as some of you might know, is the worst thing I've ever watched in my life, and I hate it, and that's why I don't rewatch it. But yeah, 2. We were introduced to them. What were they like? Annoying at first. They weren't really a good character. They were just kind of there as a plot device. And even in TPOT 1, which people consider to be a really good episode, they weren't really a great character there either. There was more hints of them being fine, but obviously as TPOT went on, 2 became a much nicer person, which to me I think is way better than them being snarky or whatever, because we already have 4. We don't need another 4, so I liked it. Also because the dynamic of 4 and 2, I thought it was kind of funny. Too bad we don't really see it that much anymore, because of things that have happened in Teapot. But also, there were other Algebraliens. There weren't just these 3 guys that were plot relevant, there was also the ones that you'd only see in the subscriber specials. And I think everybody was fine with that. You know, the specials had the Algebrains in it, and the main show had a few of them, but it was mostly the contestants. And I never really had anything wrong with any of the subscriber specials. I thought they were fun, they were completely optional videos, they were not canon at all. And all the Algebrains there are fine. I'm a big fan of 6, I love her, I love 9, I think he's really funny. 7 makes me angry and I don't really like him that much. But that's my opinion. 8 and 5 were such nothing characters until they were actually relevant to Teapot, but, you know, people were still fans of them. And we kept getting introduced to more and more Algebraliens, and people were starting to be like, wait a minute, that's a lot of characters that aren't the object show characters. You know, these are completely separate things. We got 10, we got 14, we got 15, we skipped 12 and 13 for some reason, they're barely ever there. But over time, people just get sick and sick of seeing the Algebraliens, and it was fine, because they weren't relevant to Teapot, or BFB, but mostly Teapot now, because that's the only season we have. But then something happened, and we got introduced to another Algebralian, and it was one. And it was kind of like, it was a big deal when she was introduced at the end of the episode where she came out of the moon. Because for a while people had been having issues with Teapot's writing, and now, hey, another new character. What's she gonna be like? And then she's the villain. And that really split the fandom, I think, because now there is another extremely important character, and again, they're an Algebralian and not an object. And they're an antagonist. We haven't had an antagonist since Evil Leafy, pretty much, unless you want to count characters like Flower, who were kind of mean in seasons, but yeah, we have an actual villain character now. Personally, I think 1 is an amazing character. I absolutely love her. But I do understand why people were, like, upset that there was just more Algebraliens now. Especially because now every episode has both 2, 4 NX, and now 1. That's 4 Algebraliens. But also, we have so many contestants, and they're still the most important part of the show. And then Teapot 20 and Teapot 19, and not Teapot 21, that's not out yet, but Teapot 19 and Teapot 20, they were so heavily Algebralian focused, especially Teapot 20, because as you all know, that is the Algebralian episode that is entirely focused on the Algebralians. You basically do not see a single object at all. For the first half, obviously. The second half, we do see them. And then they all die. But yeah, watching Teapot 20, I loved it. But a lot of people didn't, because they're complaining that this is not the Algebralian show, it's the object show. And yeah, it is an object show. But the Algebraians have been a part of it for 8 years. I don't see an issue with them being relevant. Especially because I think 1 is such a complex and beautiful character, and also I love 3. If 3 didn't exist, I don't think I'd love Teapot as much as I do right now. 3 is an amazing character. And also people were so excited to meet them because it had been such a built-up thing that we've never seen 3. Oh, 3's arm was in 4, what could that mean? Are they evil? No, they're a lovely, lovely little guy who did nothing wrong and died horribly. I know people don't like how Teapot is such a heavily story-driven show, but if you don't want story-driven, you can just watch BFDI, early BFDIA, well, even all of BFDIA, it's not really story, it's just kind of more complex characters now that we're at the final the singular episode of IDFB that we have, and then all of BFB up until post-split, because just don't watch post-split. But that's the thing, TPOT is just the story-driven season. We have more seasons that aren't like that. We have BFDIE now, which I think is a really good show in general, and there's no Algebraliens in that. I'm not saying TPOT's bad because it has Algebraliens, because in my opinion, there is nothing wrong with the Algebraliens, and people just seem to be against them just because they're not the objects. Which is kind of weird, because they are just numbers. They aren't really that much different. They're a different species, sure, but they're still just as important to the show, and I think they're not gonna go anywhere. Again, if you don't like them, just don't watch TPOT. There's more object shows out there which don't have Algebraliens in them. And even the ones that do, like Animatic Battle has ! He's just one character. And people seem to like that guy. So overall, I don't really understand the hatred towards the Algebraliens when, sure, they are shoved literally everywhere. They're in every special, they're in all the marketing, they're the most iconic characters at this point with 4NX. But like, that's not the creators' fault that they're the characters people like, it's just because they were so likable. I didn't want to talk about post-split that much because that really ruined 4NX for me, but it's okay now because now 4NX are okay again. I mentioned post-split, I'm sorry. I go one video without complaining about post-split. Challenge failed. But yeah, TPOT 21 will be coming out soon. Obviously I can't watch it in theater because I do not live in America, but I hope everyone that goes enjoys the episode because I would. I know I would enjoy it. Massive TPOT fan right here. Obviously I will make a video about it when it comes out. Hopefully. But yeah. Algebraliens. They're completely fine characters. I think they're all written really well. The voice acting for most of them is amazing. I don't know where the hell they found Emily, which is one's voice actress, and I forgot the name of Three's, but I don't know where they found her either. They're beautiful. I love the voices. And I just think that the Algebraliens have been around for so long now that they are integral to BFDI as a whole, and the show would not be the same without them. But I don't know, tell me what you think in the comments. Do you think Algebraliens kind of ruined BFDI? Because I think they didn't really do much damage. I think they made it better, for the most part, post-split. Yeah, thank you all for watching me rant about the object shows again. I do that a lot. I should get that checked out. Yeah, Algebraliens. I think they're good. I've been Cursed Plague Doctor. Help me. Help!